have the conversation, okay? Listen, ask questions. Don't just dismiss, and also don't just jump to, oh no, it's time to be done. The kids don't want to do it anymore. We're finished with this now. No, find that conversation zone, okay? Talk about it. But then I would have in your head, what are they searching for? Are they searching for significance? Are they searching for acceptance? Or are they searching for security? Hey there, and welcome to the Digital Nomad Family podcast. This is the place where families who have or want to have a nomadic lifestyle come together to talk about the highs and lows that this life brings. We celebrate the joys and support each other in the hard. So, if you are a digital nomad family or will be in the future, this is the place for you. We're glad you're here. Hey guys, Marissa here. Welcome back to another Digital Nomad Family podcast. I hope you guys are doing well. We are in a little bit of a heat wave here in El Salvador, and it is a warm one the past couple days. So we are taking advantage of the swimming pool and the air conditionings. So that is what's happening here. And last night we got to have dinner with a friend we met here, and I just love doing that. I don't know if you guys enjoy having people over to your houses as you are traveling around, but I absolutely love it. I love inviting new people into our home, and I love cooking for them to see what they think of, because I usually cook more American type food, if you will. And so I'm always curious as to what people think about that. Funny story. When we were in Peru, I made sloppy joes, and we had a family over, and I was like, oh, you can't go wrong with sloppy joes, right? They're tasty. I did sloppy joes and French fries. Super simple, not a big deal, right? Well, they had an 8-year-old son, and I show him the sandwich and everything. And this poor boy started to cry because it was so different from what he was used to. So I made him some hot dogs. So it worked out totally fine. But that was a lot, I think, for that poor little kiddo to take. So I don't make sloppy joe as often for new people anymore because of him. But you can never go wrong with a roast chicken and rice. No matter where you are, a roast chicken and rice is gonna fare you well. So we had a friend over for dinner last night, and we're going to a friend's house on Saturday. So just all kinds of fun stuff happening here in San Salvador. We're loving it. So yeah, we're going to continue with this Disaster Diaries series, which I'm having a lot of fun with, as weird as that sounds. Maybe that says something poor about my personality. I don't know. But I'm just really enjoying giving everyone the freedom and the space to kind of talk about these things that maybe we don't want to talk about. Maybe they feel a little taboo. This is the place we talk about it, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what we do here at Digital Nomad Family Podcast. So we're going to just keep going with that. But I have a very exciting announcement before we get into this. If you are looking for a VPN, which is a virtual private network, I now am an affiliate with Surfshark. Cue fun music, right? I'm not going to actually do fun music, but it's just me still. But if you're looking for a VPN, whether you need one or whether you're looking for a different one, maybe you're not loving the one that you have currently, we've used Surfshark for a year now. So this isn't me just, I have some new fun affiliate link and I'm just going to try to use it. No. That's not what's happening. We've used Surfshark for a year and we're very happy with it. The kids know how to use it. It's super easy. If you don't know what a virtual private network is, it does, in my opinion, it does two main things. One, it can keep you a little bit safer online. Now, there is some like back and forth, blah, blah, blah. But I do think overall, any type of protection you can put on your devices for when you're using either a public Wi-Fi like If you have to go to Starbucks, or if you, like in Mexico City, they offer free Wi-Fi throughout the city. But I mean, do you know how many people, one, it wasn't the best Wi-Fi, but if you really need to connect to it, so many people are using that Wi-Fi that any form of protection is going to be good for you. So a VPN, when you're using public Wi-Fi, amazing. Maybe you're kind of the person like, Marissa, I don't really use public Wi-Fi. We get to our apartment, I get connected to the apartment's Wi-Fi, and then I just use 3G out and about. Totally get it. That's usually how I roll also. So I don't personally, I'm not going to the coffee shops and that kind of stuff and getting on public Wi-Fi often. However, here's my personal favorite thing about a VPN. You can change the location of your IP address. So let's say you want to watch a Netflix series, but it's not located in the United States or Brazil or the United Kingdom or India. Well, you find out where is it located, what country does offer that show, and then you change your location to a country that offers it, and then you can watch it. I love that so much. So it's funny, in our house, we'll watch something, and we'll have to be like, where do we need to go? Like that's our question. Where do we need to go? So we can watch, like if the kids really like to watch Modern Family on Disney, the Disney Plus app, but you have to be in Canada. And so they're like, we need to go to Canada. And so they go to Canada and then they go to Disney and they can watch Modern Family. We like to watch just so many different things, right? And so because of having a VPN, we can do that. And so I just really recommend it. There's a link in the show notes. How a affiliate link works is you don't get charged anymore. It's the same price as what you're going to usually pay. I just get like rewarded for that. So if you're looking for a VPN, check out the show notes. I really do recommend Surfshark. I think it's a really fantastic option. We've personally been using it for a year now. All right. Enough about Surfshark. Let's talk about today's topic. And you probably saw what it was in the title. What do we do when our kids say we want to stop? I feel like that is probably like the scariest situation for a parent when they're like 15-year-old walks in and they're like, hey, mom, I was thinking, and I really don't want to be a traveling family anymore. I really want to go back to our passport country and live there. I feel like that in so many parents' minds, that's almost like that's the worst thing that can happen in a traveling family, because we love our kids, right? We care about their opinion. We want them to enjoy their life. We don't want to feel like we're forcing a lifestyle on them that they're just going to resent us for later, right? And so how do we handle this conversation? Before we kind of jump into some answers or some, tactics, if you will, for this, I think it's very important to remember that we have had traveling kids for years. Pastors, missionary kids, military families, people that have had to been traveling for work, and even just there were early nomads. All their children had to face growing up in this way. So while it's easy to think that, oh man, we're kind of experiencing the first generation of traveling kids, we're not. I would caution to not fall into that idea. However, I do think it's fair to say that we are raising the first, full generation, if you will, that can see what they're missing back, quote unquote, home because of the internet. If you go back to when I was a kid, there were still military kids, missionary kids, kids that had to travel because of their parents' work. That was happening all over the world, all over the United States. But when I was a kid, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have WhatsApp to remind us of what we were missing. When we say the word home, wherever that is that our kids think about, we don't have we didn't have that to kind of hold us back from letting go of it. And so I think that's really important to keep in mind. Eric's dad, which I think this would be a really fun podcast episode. Let me know what you think. But Eric's dad was actually a nomad because his dad, so Eric's grandfather, worked for a pipeline. And they moved all around the United States. And so my father-in-law, by the time he was had graduated high school, he had been in several different schools. But he didn't have this idea of, oh, well, back in the state of Texas, all my friends are doing this. Back in Washington, this is happening. Back in, I think they were in Indiana for a little bit. I mean, they were in Michigan. They were in so many different states. Like, and not just like one state that they moved. They were all around the United States. But he didn't have this idea of what he felt like he was missing out on because he didn't have social media. And so I think that's important to keep in mind, that while our kids are not the first kids living a nomadic life, it is fair to say that we're full on raising the first generation where, like, I'm talking like even young, right? Like our youngest is 10, and this has been for a couple years now. His entire life, the internet's been around, social media's been around. And so for him, it's very easy for him to be reminded what he's missing out on because of that connection. So with that being said, I think as our kids kind of talk about the fact that they want to maybe live a more rooted lifestyle, I think the number one most important part of the conversation when they approach us is we want them to feel heard and we want them to feel respected, because who wants to enter a conversation and then just feel like you don't care what I have to say anyways? And so we want to make sure that our kids feel heard and respected when they come to us with this desire to go back home and live there and maybe do what their friends are doing or whatever. So we want to make sure that we are asking questions. We want to make sure that we're listening. We don't want the fear of, oh my gosh, do we need to stop this lifestyle? Do we need to just go back to whatever country we're from? Do we need to do this thing? We need to listen and ask questions and respond in a respectful way and not just bat down their point of view. Because as adults, we understand, we have the perspective that an issue that a kid or a teen is facing is a very short-term issue. But to them, it's their entire life. It would be very easy for me, maybe not for you, but for me, it would be very easy for me to dismiss like, let's say one of my kids came to me and they were like, Mom, I really don't want to travel anymore. I really want to go back to the United States and buy a house and live there. And I would say, okay. And if I ask them questions and it comes down to the biggest reason they want to is because of school dances. All their friends right now are getting ready for homecoming or prom or whatever the current dance is. And they're seeing it on Instagram. They're seeing it on whatever social media platform they're following their friends, or they're FaceTiming and they're showing the dress and that kind of stuff, which for those kids in the United States that are living that is a big deal. So they are going to talk about it. They are going to post about it. And my kids aren't getting ready for a prom. And so it would be very easy for me to just kind of dismiss, like, we're not just going to go back to the United States and buy a house so you can go to prom. Like that's not a thing. That would be so easy for me to just write off and not even have a conversation about. So please don't think that I am living this out well. It is, I have to remind myself, my kids' perspective is valid to them. Even if I am sitting there wanting to roll my eyes and go, I cannot believe that you think this is worth giving up 3 months in Italy for, right? I cannot believe you think that this one day is worth not going to New Delhi for, right? Like as adults, it's really easy for us because we understand that the experiences and the worldview that our kids are gaining from traveling the world is going to have, hopefully, a more long-term and positive effect on them than going to school dances or being able to live, quote unquote, that normal life. And so try not to dismiss it right off the bat. Listen and respect. So I think as we are listening to our kids, we want to get to the core issue, right? So let's say they are sharing with you their opinion. We need to ask a lot of questions, okay? They're talking to you maybe about prom. They're talking to you about, right now, this is another real life thing in our life, because I like to get real here. Our oldest son, his best friend just got his driver's license. That's a big deal, right? Like that is a huge, huge thing. Well, our oldest son is not getting his driver's license. He can't get his driver's license in San Salvador. That's not happening. So he's not, right? And he just had his 16th birthday here recently. So from United States driving standards, he is eligible to get it, right? And so we're currently living this right now. Now, our oldest son he doesn't think that a driver's license is worth maybe giving up this lifestyle for, but he is bummed that he's not going through all that. I hope that makes sense to you guys. And so it would be really easy, though, for it to push him to the point of, well, I don't want to live this lifestyle, because if I was in the United States right now, I'd be getting my driver's license and I would be having this, right? So we need to get to the core of that. Like, okay, well, what would getting a driver's license do? How would that make you feel? Why do you think that matters to you? What would it give you in life? We need to ask these questions. And I think there are some general things that it is going to, that our kids think that thing is going to give them, okay? And there are three things, three emotions, fulfillments, if you will, that I think every decision comes back to. And it's either going to make us feel significant, it's going to make us feel accepted, or it's going to make us feel secure. That's it. I truly believe that all of our decisions come from a desire to feel one of those three things. This is going to make me feel significant. Getting a driver's license is going to make me feel significant. I'm important. I've arrived. I have this accomplishment next to my name, right? It's going to make me feel accepted, maybe. All my friends have driver's license. Now I have it. I am a typical 16-year-old, right? Or it's going to make them feel secure. And for me, actually, as a teenager, that's what a driver's license did. It made me feel very secure. It made me feel very safe, because I did not grow up in a home when I was in my late teens, especially. I did not grow up in a home that I wanted to stay in. I left a lot. And so getting a driver's license for me was actually, it brought me a sense of safety and security, because I knew when things got really bad at the house, I could get in my car and I could just leave, and I didn't have to be around that chaos. So for me, it brought a sense of security. And so all of our kids' decisions, we need to figure out which of these three desires is it filling? Is it making them feel significant, accepted, or secure? And that's fine. As an adult, I'm sure you can look back on a decision and you can say, I made this decision because I thought it was going to make me feel accepted. I made this decision because I thought it was going to make me feel secure. I thought it was going to make me feel significant. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with those desires to feel one of those three ways. But we have to make sure that we're not making decisions that we're going to regret in the long term because we are wanting that feeling right now, and we have the wrong worldview at the moment, the wrong opinion, and we're just wrong in that this decision is not going to bring that emotion, that fulfill that desire that I actually have. We use this a lot in our family. We call it SAS, significance, acceptance, and security. You want SAS. Everyone wants SAS in their life. You can rearrange it and make another word, but we try to keep those words. I know. So go sass. It makes you feel sassy. Everyone wants to feel that way. So when our kids come to us with this, I want to go back to our passport country and live a rooted life. And they're not going to say it that way, right? They're going to say, I want to go home and be normal. Totally fine. We have to understand why. What are they seeking? Maybe they're seeking all three. Maybe they need all three in their life. Maybe they need a couple, right? But we need to get to the root of, are they seeking significance, acceptance, or security? And they honestly believe that going back to, for us, it's the United States. They honestly believe that going back to the United States is going to give them that fulfilled desire. And sadly, they're just wrong. Now, we can't just tell them that because we fall into this as well. And so we need to keep in mind, we do this same thing. We fall into this trap of thinking, this is the thing that's going to make me feel significant, accepted, or secured. And sadly, it's not, right? And so we need to help our kids come up with a way to figure out what they're desiring. So ask a lot of questions, right? And you just can't be like, oh, do you think that that's going to make you feel significant, accepted, or secure? Like, no, you can't just do that, right? We got to take the long way, especially with teenagers. You got to take the long way home. And so just ask a lot of questions, listen. And as you're asking questions, as you're listening, then you can start to figure out, oh, you want that because you think it's going to make you feel secure. So maybe your kid is desiring a feeling of security. Maybe you've been in a season of fast travel and your kid is just feeling a little bit of whiplash from that. And so instead of telling you, hey, can we land in a home for maybe 2 or 3 months and I don't have to pack my bag every other week or every week, and I really wanted that feeling of security right now. They're not going to come to you and say that. They're going to think, well, I just need to go back to my passport country. I need to go home. And so, but what they're actually seeking is just a little bit more security, that feeling of security in their life. So maybe that does mean you need to go, hey, how would you feel if we found a country where our visas, our passports allow us to stay for 6 months? If you are listening to this and you're a U.S. citizen, U.S. citizens can go to Albania for a year with just their passport. And hey, there you go. You can go to Albania. You can be there for almost a year if you really need to have that feeling of security. If your kid is really looking for that, go hang out in Albania. You can maybe do some little week trips or something like that, long weekends in Eastern Europe. And it'll be good. You can have loads of fun adventures in that part of the world. Great cost of living. And on a U.S. passport, you can be there for a year. So I'm just literally just throwing out ideas here. If your kid is seeking significance, then maybe they're seeing their friends all get summer jobs, right? And they're being given this responsibility, and then they're getting money. And man, having money instantly makes you feel significant as a teenager, right? You are a big dog. You're important if you have money. Well, maybe if your kid is like, well, if I was in the United States or if I was in Australia, wherever home is, right? And they come to you and they're like, well, if I was there right now, I'd be getting a summer job and I'd be making money. Okay, well, what they're telling you is, I want to feel important. I want to feel like I'm doing something with my life. Well, they can get a job. If you own a business, if that's how you travel around the world, then find some jobs for them to do in the company. If you don't own your own business, if there's nothing like that they can do, help them find an online job that allows them to work as a teenager. Or if you are in a place where you have some friends, help them find some work in the country that you're in so that they can make a little bit of money. I do think that it's totally reasonable for especially our teens to want to have some money because it just instantly, it makes them feel significant. I'm important because I have some money. Now, is that a great thing? No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying this is how teenagers are. Don't misunderstand my understanding for agreement, if that makes sense. But this is how our teens are. And if you're the parent of a teenager, you know I'm right. We don't have to agree with it. It's just how it is. And then there's acceptance, right? What can we do to help our kids, our teens, our younger kids feel accepted in this lifestyle? Well, it's very important to get them into community where you are. And even if you can do some online stuff, acceptance is really, really critical. We all want to feel accepted. And so maybe that's why they feel like they want to go back to their passport country and live a more rooted life. Maybe they feel like that's going to make them feel more accepted, right? When we travel so much, we don't get these maybe deep connections that they think they're going to get if they are living a more rooted lifestyle. So what can we do as parents to get them around peers, their own age, or at least close in their age, so that they can make some connections and feel accepted? I think that's important. So with all that to say, I know that this is a little rough, and it maybe doesn't feel like it's giving you the answers you necessarily want when your kid comes to you and says, hey, I want to go back home. But there's two things I can tell you. One, you need to listen. You need to ask questions and listen. Don't just shut it down. Don't just be like, oh, the feeling will pass, and don't go the other way too, right? To think that your kid needs to dictate how you live your life. In our family, we say all the time, we are not a democracy. Eric and I make the decisions. And even if Eric and I decided, okay, we're going to go back to the United States and live rooted, even in that, our kids are not going to dictate our life. They're not going to dictate what church we go to. They're not going to dictate how they do schooling. I tell my kids all the time, even if we were to go back to the United States, you're still going to be homeschooled, because that's what our family does. We homeschool. We homeschooled before we lived this lifestyle. We're homeschooling now. If we decide to go back and do the rooted way, you're still homeschooled. So don't have in your head that this would change if we went back to the United States. It wouldn't. And that's my decision. So I don't think just because your kid comes to you and says, Mom, Dad, I want to go back to California. I want to go back to England. I want to go back to South Africa. You don't have to just jump on a plane, right? So don't fall into one of those two categories of dismissing your kids and just thinking, oh, well, once we get to a new place, once we get them in that class that we're going to, whatever, maybe you're going to go to Costa Rica and they're going to take surf lessons for a couple months. Just because they do that, the feeling is still going to come back in a few days when surf lessons become not as new and shiny, right? That's just normal. And so have the conversation, okay? Listen, ask questions. Don't just dismiss, and also don't just jump to, oh no, it's time to be done. The kids don't want to do it anymore. We're finished with this now. No, find that conversation zone, okay? Talk about it. But then I would have in your head, what are they searching for? Are they searching for significance? Are they searching for acceptance? Or are they searching for security? Because I genuinely believe, I've seen it over and over and over again in my life. These are the three things that we think we're going to get in our decisions. And then when you figure out which one or two, maybe all three, I don't know. Usually it's one or two. It's rare that it's all three. But it could, right? It could happen. I'm not saying it doesn't. But usually there's like a primary one, like this would make me feel this way. How can you help your child get that fulfillment as a nomad kid? Okay? Because we do not have the first generation that is being raised this way. And so it is possible to feel significant, accepted, and secured as a nomad kid. We don't have to just live rooted. So that's really all I had to say about it, guys, because I can't really give loads and loads of examples because it's going to be so personalized to your kid, to the reason that they are feeling this way, and then the desire they think it's going to fulfill, right? So have conversations about it. Let your kids know that you are open to talk about it. You're going to listen to them. You're not just going to shoot it down, that you are going to respect them, right? Everyone just wants to feel respected. And so definitely just have that openness in your family. So I hope that this helped. I would love to hear what you think about these 3 desires that I talked about: significance, accepted, and secure. And yeah, I would just love to hear your thoughts. So you can email me in the show notes. There's a link to email me. Before I say goodbye, I have a statistic that kind of blew my mind as I was looking at the podcast. Only 40% of you are subscribed. Crazy, right? Only 40% listening are subscribed. So if you could take a minute and push the subscribe button on whatever device you're listening on, I would truly, truly appreciate it. That would be very helpful for the show to get more followers, because it shows all the various platforms that people take it seriously, that people are showing up, that people want the content. And so it does help the platforms take us more seriously. So I think I said it wrong. I'm so sorry. 40% are not following. So I know that doesn't sound as drastic now that I say it the correct way. Sorry about that. But still, 40% not subscribed. That's a pretty big number, guys. So if you're not subscribed on whatever platform that you're listening to this on, please just do that. It literally takes a second, and it is so unbelievably helpful. I would really, really appreciate it. So let's get that number bumped up for the next episode. Yeah. So with that, I hope that you guys are doing well wherever you are in the world. I hope that you are enjoying it. And as always, I hope you continue to travel joyfully.